Have you ever wondered why you actually enjoy being alone? Not because you hate people, not because you're antisocial, but because some of your deepest thoughts only appear when the world becomes quiet. Maybe you've always felt slightly different, not smarter, not better, just different. While everyone else seems comfortable with simple answers, your mind keeps searching. While others rush to speak, you prefer to think. And while most people fear silence, you often find peace inside it. Psychologists have discovered something interesting. Some forms of intelligence don't show themselves in public. They appear behind closed doors, in habits nobody sees, in conversations you have with yourself. And if several of these habits feel strangely familiar, you may possess something much rarer than ordinary intelligence. Because real intelligence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's invisible. And the most fascinating part? Most people around you may never notice it. Number 1. You can sit with questions that don't have immediate answers. Most people hate uncertainty. The moment they encounter something confusing, they rush to find an explanation. Any explanation. Because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. But rare minds are different. They don't panic when they don't know. They become curious. Instead of forcing answers, they allow questions to breathe. They can spend days thinking about something without needing immediate closure. Not because they're indecisive, but because they understand that some truths require patience. Think about how unusual that is. In a world obsessed with certainty, you're willing to admit, "I don't know yet." And strangely enough, that humility often leads to deeper understanding. Because wisdom doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from asking better questions. And sometimes, the people who appear the most certain are simply the ones who stopped thinking too soon. Number 2. You challenge your own beliefs. Most people spend their lives defending what they already think. They protect their opinions. They avoid uncomfortable ideas. And they surround themselves with people who agree with them. But highly intelligent people often do the opposite. They question themselves. They play devil's advocate inside their own minds. They ask difficult questions. What if I'm wrong? What am I missing? What would someone who disagrees with me say? And surprisingly, they aren't afraid of the answers, because they understand something powerful. Being wrong doesn't make you weak. Refusing to learn does. That's why truly intelligent people aren't obsessed with proving themselves right. They're obsessed with getting closer to the truth, even when the truth challenges their pride, because ego wants certainty. But wisdom wants understanding, and the ability to change your mind may be one of the rarest forms of strength. Number 3. You study your emotions instead of simply reacting to them. Everyone feels anger, everyone feels anxiety, everyone gets hurt, but most people never stop to ask why. They simply react, then move on. But rare minds do something different. They observe themselves, they notice patterns, they ask questions. Why did that bother me so much? Why am I feeling this now? Have I felt this before? Instead of fighting emotions, they try to understand them, almost like detectives studying clues. Because emotions aren't enemies, they're messages. And when you learn how to listen to those messages, something begins to change. You stop becoming a prisoner of every feeling. You become more aware, more calm, more intentional. And slowly you realize that emotional intelligence isn't about controlling your emotions. It's about understanding them, because the better you understand yourself, the less the world can control you. Number 4. You constantly discover new meanings in old memories. Most people think the past is fixed, something happened, and that's the end of the story. But highly intelligent people often revisit old experiences and suddenly see them differently. A painful rejection becomes a lesson. An embarrassing mistake becomes a source of growth. A difficult chapter becomes something that quietly made them stronger. The memory itself doesn't change, but the meaning does. And meaning changes everything. Have you ever been doing something ordinary, driving home, taking a shower, washing dishes, and suddenly thought, "Oh, now I understand"? That's not random. That's growth. Because wisdom isn't just about learning new things. Sometimes it's about seeing old things with new eyes. And perhaps one of the greatest signs of maturity is this, the ability to transform pain into understanding. Because healing doesn't always mean forgetting the past. Sometimes it means finally understanding it. Number 5. You're fascinated by things that have no obvious purpose. Most people learn things because they have to make money, to solve problems, to impress other people. But rare minds are driven by something deeper: curiosity. They can spend hours reading about subjects that seem completely unrelated to their lives: ancient civilizations, space, animal behavior, history, philosophy, questions that don't promise rewards, questions that nobody asked them to explore. And somehow they enjoy every minute of it. Because curiosity isn't about usefulness, it's about wonder. And wonder is where creativity begins. Almost every great discovery started with someone becoming interested in something that seemed unimportant to everyone else. That's why your strange interests aren't distractions. They're evidence that your mind enjoys learning for its own sake. And in a world obsessed with quick results, that kind of curiosity has become surprisingly rare. But perhaps the most unusual habits aren't about what you think. They're about how quickly you're willing to change your thinking. And that's where things become truly fascinating. Number 6. You can change your mind in the middle of thinking. Most people become attached to their opinions very quickly. Once they've chosen a direction, they keep going, even when they know they're wrong, because admitting mistakes hurts the ego. But rare minds value truth more than pride. They can stop themselves halfway through a thought and say, "Wait, that's not entirely right." And then they adjust. No embarrassment, no defensiveness, no need to protect who they were 5 seconds ago, because they understand something most people never learn. Being wrong isn't dangerous. Staying wrong is. That's why intelligent people aren't obsessed with being consistent. They're obsessed with growing. They understand that every new piece of information is an opportunity to improve. And while the world rewards confidence, life rewards adaptability. Because the ability to update yourself may be one of the greatest superpowers a human being can possess. Number 7. You genuinely enjoy your own company. And this may be the rarest sign of all. Not simply tolerating solitude, not distracting yourself while you're alone, but actually enjoying it. For many people, silence feels uncomfortable. They need music, videos, notifications, something to fill every empty moment. But some minds experience silence differently. To them, quiet isn't boring, it's peaceful. A walk alone feels refreshing. An evening without distractions feels relaxing, and time spent with their own thoughts feels natural. Because when your own mind becomes good company, you stop depending on constant stimulation. You stop chasing noise, and you begin discovering who you really are. Not the version the world expects, but the version beneath all the expectations. And that's where true self-awareness begins. Here's the part most people misunderstand. These 7 habits don't make you better than anyone else. They don't mean you're smarter than everyone around you. They simply suggest that your mind operates differently. Because intelligence isn't always visible, it doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it appears in quiet moments, in long walks, in unanswered questions, in the courage to challenge yourself, and in the strange comfort of being alone with your own thoughts. Maybe you've spent years feeling different, wondering why you think so deeply, wondering why shallow conversations leave you exhausted, wondering why you need more solitude than the people around you. Perhaps nothing is wrong with you. Perhaps you've simply been trying to understand yourself in a world that rarely slows down long enough to think. Because real intelligence has never needed attention. It doesn't need applause, and it certainly doesn't need to prove itself. Some of the most extraordinary things happening inside you may be invisible to everyone else, and that's perfectly okay, because the quietest minds often carry the deepest worlds. If some of these habits felt strangely familiar, let me know in the comments. Which one describes you the most? And if you enjoy psychology and self-growth content like this, make sure to subscribe and join us for more videos designed to help you understand yourself and others on a deeper level. Because sometimes the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself.